Alright, what is going on, everyone? Alex Prime here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a video from DreamcastGuy, who claims he has an insider source from Sony, who is beta testing the PlayStation 5 and decided, out of the blue, to call up old DreamcastGuy and give him the inside scoop, baby, about the PlayStation 5. And there's a lot of misinformation from this supposed source, who, as you will see in this video, there's no source. This is all made up. He's made this up. It's very clear. But let's watch this video. Let's have a laugh. Because this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And he has way too many subs to have this little research in a video. And I found it really funny. So let's take a look. So let's begin here. It's got fire ass intro. I'm lying to you.
As many of you may have noticed, over the course of the last couple of months, I've been making a lot of videos about the PlayStation 5, mostly because, personally, I'm just so hyped for it. I'm constantly curious what the games are going to look like, how expensive the console itself will be, and all sorts of little details like what is the controller going to look like. Well, last night, I was actually contacted by a PlayStation employee who's currently playtesting the PS5, and they revealed a lot of very interesting details to me that I want to actually talk to you about today.
Called him out of the blue because he's been making PlayStation 5 videos because he's so hyped, y'all. We're all hyped for the PlayStation 5, but Dreamcast Guy, this man gets an insider call. Oh, man, I can't wait to hear what they told him.
What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and before we get into this, I want to just say, please consider this all as rumors right now. I was able to confirm this person's identity pretty concretely, and it seems like it's all completely legit, but there are just some things about it that are not 100% right.
The guy's 100% legit. Consider it a rumor, and not everything sounds right. This is great stuff.
So just definitely take this with a huge grain of salt and think that maybe this is all crazy misinformation.
It's a lot of misinformation.
But some of this stuff actually aligns pretty closely with some other leaks, and to me, it gets me very, very excited. Now let's start off by talking a little bit about resolution. Now, right now, a lot of games are basically run at 720p or 1080p, but there has been talk about in the future, maybe some consoles being able to actually hit 4K natively, or maybe even 8K natively.
Let's stop right there. We have 4K gaming right now, Mr. Dreamcast Guy. I don't know if you've heard of the Xbox One X. It plays several games in 4K. Same with the PlayStation 4 Pro to a lesser extent, but it does have a few games that play in 4K. So that's not in the future. We have that right now. Insider knowledge.
Now, the reason I talk about this is because higher definition graphics are an interesting idea, but they're something that's definitely part of the future. Right now, if you wanted to buy an 8K television, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. They're kind of an impossible idea right now, but they're definitely a part of the plan. Everything is going to end up looking photorealistic. Well, according to my source, some of the games they're testing right now, well, a lot of them are very, very early on, of course. There's not a complete PS5 game, but some of the stuff that they're actually running on there is actually hitting native 8K. This is a very, very big deal. Even if you're one of those gamers that's like, bro, I don't even care about graphics.
What was that? Okay, so we're gonna keep doing this because we know this shit ain't real. His source says that the PlayStation 5 is playing games in native 8K, and he admits himself that these TVs cost thousands and thousands of dollars. In fact, I saw a 8K TV up here in Canada. You know how much it cost? $20,000. But you know, we're going to be playing games in 8K natively. No, my friend, you may get some games in 8K, like little indie games, but we're primarily going to be playing in 4K for the most part. Let's carry on.
It's still important because it means it's just basically a display of how strong this hardware actually is. So how are they able to hit this off? Well, it's only on certain games to start with. He was pretty clear to say that it's not going to be like giant open world games. If there's like dragons breathing fire on top of a castle and stuff, that's not going to be 8K. Instead, that stuff will be like a good strong 4K, but other things like racing games or corridor shooters, those things will actually be able to possibly hit 8K natively, and the way this is done is because it has 14 teraflops of CPU power inside it.
Okay, so let's put aside the 8K stuff, because we'll see. I don't believe we'll be playing games at 8K, but who knows? Maybe Sony will put in some of that secret sauce they always like to talk about. But let's look here. PlayStation 5 equals 14 teraflops. He calls it CPU performance. This is the beginning of realizing he has no idea what he's talking about. Teraflops refers to GPU, not CPU. It's not to do with the processor. It's talking about graphics. Your video card. With the consoles, it'll be an APU. But yeah, 14 teraflops of CPU performance. This is just the beginning of the lack of knowledge. Let's continue on.
This is a lot of computing, and to give you a little bit of perspective, keep in mind that the PlayStation 4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops. So this is like 3 times stronger, which is a pretty significant leap. Now, it's not as big as some people may think, simply because remember that the jump from 1080p to 4K is 4 times the resolution. Here's like an infographic to try and display that. It's a pretty big leap, so trying to go from 4K to 8K is another significant gap. This is partially assisted by the fact that the PS5 apparently has 16 gigabytes of RAM inside it. This is again not super shocking and is a good sign though. It's basically saying that this will be a very nice step up from current consoles, but not such a giant leap ahead that the consoles will possibly cost $600.
So let's just take a minute with the RAM here. 16 gigs of RAM, that's very possible. The Xbox One X has 12 gigs shared RAM, because again it's an APU. It uses system RAM and video graphics RAM together as one. So 16 really is not a far stretch. It's only 4 more. That's what's currently available. We might even get more, who knows, but 16 I would think would be a bare minimum for the PS5. So that part is probably true.
Something that was said again and again during my talks with this person is that cost was definitely...
There is no talks with this person. This person is you. You are the leak. Frickin' guy.
On the table. It seems like they're trying to do everything as cheaply as possible, and also it seems like they're trying to cut a lot of special deals with a lot of these companies to make sure when they get the parts, they can get them for just pennies, to try and get them for the lowest cost. That way the console itself isn't going to be like $500 or $800, because let's face it, nobody's buying an $800 PS5.
Okay, we're gonna stop it there. I'm so glad that we have this insider knowledge. Now that only now with the power of DreamcastGuy's source can we realize that a company would want to make their product as cheap as possible and cut corners to save money. I always thought they would just put the $10,000 parts into a box and charge $400, because you know companies love losing money. I'm so glad DreamcastGuy's source has set us straight, everybody. Now we know that a company who wants to make money will try to get the lowest price. So this is amazing, amazing stuff. Let's continue.
I don't care how good the graphics are. Now, something else is, something I've actually heard about and speculated on in previous videos is the idea of a solid-state drive being inside it, an SSD. Well, this has now been confirmed by my source. But what's funny is...
Oh my god. Your source did not confirm that solid-state drives will be in PlayStation 5. You know who confirmed this? Mark Cerny. Weeks ago. He is the head of development for the PlayStation 5. He already came out, told us it's using a brand new solid-state drive technology, which is even faster than anything currently available on the market, even for PCs. On top of that, they showed us a demo with Spider-Man, showing how fast you can get load times with this new hard drive. Your fake source, who is you, did not confirm this. Mark Cerny confirmed this weeks ago. Let's carry on.
That's the prototype PS5s, and there's actually multiple versions of it. All of them are running with 256 gigabytes of solid-state memory just to try and save cash right now.
To save cash right now, why would they put a 1 terabyte SSD into a test system right now if it's not the final product? Of course they're going to use one that's smaller and cheaper to use for now until they're ready for the final product. This whole thing is just made up. My God. Let's continue.
Now, when it actually comes out, apparently they're trying to cut deals to make sure that it can have 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes in it, but the general idea is that they're trying to get the cost as low as possible, and right now, the technology for solid-state hard drives is getting easier to create, so by the time this console releases next year, it'll be a much more affordable state. Now, let's talk for a second about those multiple prototypes, because this is perhaps where the information gets the most confusing from public notes, other leaks, and what this means right now.
Most confusing, my guy. You think teraflops is CPU performance. You've been confused since we started this video. Let's see how far we can take this confusion.
So something we've actually seen in the news here and there is the fact that Mark Cerny, he's actually the guy who's the head of the PlayStation 4 development and now the head of the, basically the engineering and development team of the PlayStation 5. Mark Cerny has actually talked about AMD Navi processors, working with Navi architecture. Basically, this is like the style of stuff that's going to be inside the next console. Well, this was not said at all by my source.
Oh my God. Okay. This man is so confused and out of his element. He has no idea what is going on. He thinks AMD Navi is a processor, even though, again, Mark Cerny, which he even talks about Mark Cerny in this part of the video, tells us that PS5 is using AMD Navi. Navi is the graphics processor. The console is going to use an APU, which is a CPU and a GPU together as one chip. They are using Ryzen, which is the CPU portion, and they are using Navi, which is the GPU portion. This man thinks that the GPU is the CPU. He has no idea what is going on, and what's even worse is his source. The source didn't mention any of this, even though Mark Cerny said this weeks ago. Let's continue with this imaginary source.
I heard about things like possibly an AMD Radeon processor. I've heard a lot of stuff about different CPUs and GPUs being put in this, but the main console he was talking to me about actually had NVIDIA tech in it. Now, this is all being based on hardcore stuff that's already on store shelves. Now, I'm using the thing based on because nothing in consoles is ever just straight up the store shelves and put in your console. It's always customized to some degree, mostly because they want to try and make it affordable, but also because they want to make sure that every piece of it perfectly integrates together. Well, in this, the NVIDIA tech is actually based on, let me read it off here, the GTX 660. So the 660 technology that's coming out now, that's
okay, I don't even know where to begin. So this is the biggest deviation from his source to what Mark Cerny says. Mark Cerny, again, has told us we're using AMD Navi, but this source, the imaginary source, is claiming it's a GTX 1660 from NVIDIA, and for some reason he's calling it a 660, or maybe that's his list, but it's hard to tell. GTX 1660 from NVIDIA, a completely different company, and complete opposite of what Mark Cerny, the man who is developing the PlayStation 5, has told us. But this source is just amazing. Let's continue on. And apparently the 1660, which is a fairly low-end, mid-range card, is going to be outputting games in native 8K. This is amazing stuff. Amazing, amazing stuff.
Being talked about. That's what it's in. This is strong stuff, but not mind-blowing stuff. Basically, a lot of this tech stuff makes me think that this is going to be a nice leap above, but not crazy impossible. I know a lot of people, when it comes to the next console generation, there's always the talk about how is this going to compare to PC gaming. A lot of times whenever there's like that next huge thing coming over the horizon, a lot of people compare it to current high-end PCs, because those are obviously creating the best graphics, the best visuals, the most instantaneous load times. So people are saying, okay, compared to like a $3,000 supercomputer, where does this measure up? And in my opinion, just by looking at a lot of these notes and what my source was telling me, it seems like they are measuring up in an actual practical manner. This is not going to be reinventing the wheel. This is not going to be impossible, freaking crazy graphics that make your eyes bleed, but they are still going to be awesome. So the last
This guy is so animated. I love it. He uses his hands a lot. He gets to the screen. I got sources. So now, what did he said? Some really dumb shit here. What was he talking about? Oh yeah, he wants to compare it to a $3,000 computer for some reason. Apparently, when a new console comes out, it needs to be compared to a $3,000 PC. So, does it compare to a $3,000 PC? Of course not. Well, like what? Why do you need an insider to tell you that? Let me gather my thoughts here. His insider is telling him that this $400, $500 box, whatever it is comparing to a $3,000 computer, and somehow it's doing that with a GTX 1660. Not even the TI, the regular GTX 1660. Which again is the complete opposite of what Mark Cerny has told us. I don't like it. Honestly feels like he is just trolling. I feel like he's just joking in this video, and he's just taking advantage of his gullible users. Or maybe he really does have a source, some idiot who messaged him, and this guy who clearly did no fact checking whatsoever just said, "Oh, I'm gonna make a video about this and get my clicks." Oh my gosh. This is ridiculous. Alright, let's continue.
Up in an actual practical
we saw this part already.
But they are still going to be awesome. So the last two things I really want to hit.
The graphics, they're not gonna blow your mind, but they're still gonna be awesome. Thank God for this source.
So the last two things I really want to hit up here at the end are two other little details that he told me about that I find very, very fascinating, but are obviously less important. So let's start off by talking about the controller itself, because apparently they actually are testing the PlayStation 5 with what appears to be the actual official PlayStation 5 controller, and funny enough, it looks like this thing.
Okay, so I'm so glad we had your source to tell us this. But the PlayStation 5 is being tested, breaking news, people, with a PlayStation 5 controller. My God, my God, my God. I'm shocked. I'm amazed. The rest of his video is complete nonsense. He just talks about a controller and some other ridiculous things that he's making up. So, I guess YouTube views are down and ad revenue's down, because this has got to be one of the most egregious clickbait fake videos I've seen from this dude in a while. I unsubscribed from him after he made that fake video about losing his save files in Smash Brothers after downloading the Piranha Plant DLC. He was lying about that, and he was even called out by his own fans in his video to the point where he deleted the video. This video was so egregious that I just had to watch it, because it's disgusting. Like, honestly, it's so bad. Like, is YouTube that, like, are you that hard up for views on YouTube? You have a lot of subs, my guy. Like, you must make a decent amount of money. And there was one part in this video that I found really funny. He talks about this controller. Actually, let me find that part. It's so stupid. Okay,
Remember there was this like Astro super controller that came out just a couple months ago in 2019? Well, this is actually apparently basically going to be the PlayStation 5 controller. It's basically the PlayStation 4 controller with just a little bit of extra spark to it, a little bit of extra thickness in certain spots, a little more weight, and a little more customization. So funny enough, this is apparently very, very close to the finalized PlayStation 5 controller. Now, it's probably going to have some tweaks to it, just because PlayStation 5 likes to, or all the PlayStation consoles iterate and iterate and iterate until they come out, or sorry, iterate until they come out. But this is probably 95% of what the finalized controller is going to look like. Now, obviously, if you were crazy enough to buy one of those, they were several $100s, so not a lot of people were able to afford picking it up, myself included. I'm way too broke to have a freaking $200 controller.
That's the part that's really funny. Look at the wall behind him. Let's wait till his controller fades out. Look at that wall of games behind him. And he is trying to give you the illusion that he is too broke to buy a controller. I just found that hilarious. I mean, I guess that's a little prayer thing. Okay, but yeah, there's the Dreamcast Guy video. Filled to the brim with misinformation. Calling CPUs, GPUs, CPU teraflops. Talking about GTX cards instead of with NVIDIA instead of using AMD Navi, which was already confirmed by Mark Cerny, and using Ryzen CPUs, which again was confirmed by Mark Cerny. But according to Dreamcast Guy's source, none of this is real, and we're supposed to believe the source instead of the guy making the console. So this was just a funny video. Again, I guess YouTube money is down. It's gotta be. Why else would somebody with so many subscribers and so many people that listen to him make up such nonsense? And I feel bad for his subs, because the video has like 2,000 likes or something like that. Let me see. Yeah, 2,000 likes, 920 dislikes. I am one of those 920 dislikes, just if you were unclear. A lot of people are gullible, I guess. 2,000 people are signing off saying they agree with this. So I don't know why you go out of your way to misinform people like this. It's kind of scummy. Not a good look, my guy. You should be doing better. At least do your research. If you honestly did get this information from some source, a leaker, whatever, at least do some fact checking. The information's been out there for weeks. Mark Cerny did an interview and talked about this stuff. You said you were so hyped for the PS5. Why don't you know these things, man? God, my God, this is so stupid. I can't watch the rest of this video again. It's too dumb. Alright, let me know what you think about this, guys, in the comment section below. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, it's fucking ridiculous. Alright, I will see you guys later. Bye.